This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Coming up a little later on in the program, we'll run down what happened in the grain and livestock markets. But first, we're going to hear from Dr. Olivia Genther-Schroeder of Purina as we talk about gut health in our calves and why the first few hours and days are vitally important to get a calf off to a firm foundation. Being joined right now by Dr. Olivia Genther-Schroeder of Purina. Thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we were talking a little bit earlier with Ted about you getting those cows ready for breeding and making sure their health is obviously top priority. And a lot of that begins, as he started to talk about, in the gut. And that's what we're talking about here today. What are you telling producers what they need to do for gut health and how they are able to keep themselves healthy and keep those calves healthy and all that?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the calves that I work with, those are really our hand-raised calves. And so we don't have mom cow to make sure that she's taking care of gut health. And so we have to make sure as producers that we're doing that to the best of our ability. And gut health is really the cornerstone of successful lifetime productivity. And what's unique about very young calves is that we are really building and setting the stage for what that gut is going to look like long term. So all kinds of things can set that off, including stress, the way we feed them, if there's changes in our management. So making sure that we have consistency is key.
Now, obviously, rumens are different than other animals in the kingdom there, and so tell us a little bit about what has to be done differently that obviously with folks that raise hogs don't have to deal with.
Yeah, and so it's a really interesting transition. We're essentially starting with an animal that's almost like a monogastric, but that is transitioning into a ruminant as we're feeding them. And so that comes along with stress. So any type of stressor in our very young animals is a little more stressful for them than it would be our older animals. And so that would include things like scours that our calves typically go through, weaning, which is really our biggest transition from liquid feed, pre-weaning, to post-weaning, which would be dry feed, which is where we really rely on that rumen. And so making sure that we manage that stress as consistently and successfully as possible, making sure that those calves are as little stressed as possible going through that period will really influence how they're able to eat that dry feed as well as how that rumen will develop, including the microbiome.
So what do our producers need to know? Because obviously we've got producers that are raising cattle in pastures. We've got some that are being, obviously raised in feedlots. What kind of things can they do to help relieve that stress and to take some of that pressure off that animal?
Yeah, so again, going back to very consistent management, making sure you're doing the same things every day that are optimal for our calves. And remembering that the earlier we start focusing on those things in those very young calves, the better we're doing. The first few hours, days, and weeks of a calf's life are really critical for developing those systems that they are going to rely on for the rest of their lives. We're building that gut tissue, we're building the barrier, we're building the immune function in the gut, which is a really big portion of the total immune function, as well as the microbiome. And so providing them with good quality colostrum from the very beginning, giving them the right nutrients at the right time. So a nice plan of nutrition from milk replacer, as well as a good quality, very palatable starter feed to get them to start consuming it, as well as gut health technologies and supplements that might influence how those animals go through stress and help them.
And so tell me a little bit how Purina's products help make that happen.
Yeah, and so what we really do is we focus on making sure that the products we have available for our young calves have been tested in calves, and that's really critical because not all probiotics or supplements work across all life stages. And so our products are really focused on understanding what does the calf need at that specific time and providing it to them.
Okay. And so then anything that our producers need to know, I mean, more about getting that calf ready. I mean, obviously we talk about the feeding, getting all the supplies they need. Is there other stressors that are outside of that gut biome that can also affect that whole situation?
Absolutely. So anytime an animal is stressed, it is going to have an impact on the gut. So whether that is again going through weaning, a pen change, a feed change, transportation stress, heat and cold stress, all of those things will not only stress the animal out, but also the gut. And so making sure that we have supported the gut to the best of our ability so that when they go through that stressors, they can encounter that stress, but still be successful through it and continue digesting feed and preventing pathogens. That's what we need to do to make sure that they can manage those different types of stressors.
Okay, so how can Purina then help them work with, I'm sure obviously the veterinarian or herd health veterinarian to make sure everything is there for that poor, I shouldn't say poor calf, that calf to make sure everything's ready for them? How can they all work that together to make that happen?
Yeah, well, so what's really nice about Purina is that we have boots on the ground. And so we have, you can reach out to your dealers, you can talk to the people who are in the field who can take the products and programs that we have and apply them to your unique and individual situation and make sure that what we have available is right for your farm.
All right, so if folks want to learn more about Purina, the role that you guys play, the services you have, the products you have, what's the best way for them to find that?
So they can reach out to their local dealer or they can go to purinamills.com/dairy/feed to find more information.
All right, Dr. Olivia Genther-Schroeder has been our guest here. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us.
Thank you.
That again was Dr. Olivia Genther-Schroeder of Purina. And now it is time to look at the closing markets. And we're being joined by Corey Bratland of agmarket.net. Corey, I know the market started off stronger, then they pulled a little back a little on the morning. How'd they end up the day?
Hey, Dustin. Yeah, corn market actually ended the day about 2.5 cents higher, 2 to 2.5 cents higher. So we're getting a little bit of chatter in the market here about trying to get E15, year round here. So we'll see. I read somewhere, I saw today that they're going to have a decision on that. I think the deadline is February 25th. So that'll definitely be something to kind of keep a close eye on. Soybeans started out the morning stronger. We did have an export sales announcement of 195,000 metric ton to unknown destinations. So there is some speculation that that might be China. I think they've got their 12 million metric ton purchased already that they agreed to. But now they might be working on the 25 million metric ton that they had talked about in the trade deal. So, but soybeans that did find some selling here as we got up to some pre-report, before the January 12th report, got back up to some highs there before where we were at the report. So we are seeing a little bit of farmers selling, and that kind of caused beans to close down about 0.5 cent to a penny lower.
Now, we did see that Buenos Aires was going to release some of their conditions in Argentina. Do we see anything on what came out and what they're facing right now?
I have not seen the numbers yet. I am seeing on the weather side of things. It sounds like northern Argentina has been catching a few rains. Central and southern Argentina, however, has been missing the rains, and that is something I've been watching here for the last couple of weeks. And so I mean, there's definitely enough concern here to where those conditions could start to drop back just a little bit unless they get some relief here pretty soon.
All right, well, then moving over to the livestock side of things, Corey, cattle and hogs today. Let's start with cattle. How did they fare?
Yeah, cattle pretty mixed on the day. February's were down about 60 cents. Everything else was kind of mixed, anywhere from 10 lower to 20, 30 higher. So not much has been traded this week. It was just a very quiet trade here today on live cattle. Feeder cattle end of the day down up just a little bit, 30, 40 cents here on the day too. Just not a lot of news happening, not a lot of trade happening yet so far this week. On the
And then moving over to the hogs, how did they fare today?
Yeah, hogs ended up another, 60, 70 cents higher. They're starting to run out of gas here on the charts and stuff. They've had such a nice rebound up, $12, $13 from the low. Starting to see a little bit of a stalling out here. I wouldn't be surprised if we'd see this hog market pull back, which would be still very healthy for the market.
All right, Corey, if folks want to take a look at some of the intel that you guys have been monitoring and putting out there, what's the best way for them to get in touch to get that conversation going?
Yeah, just head on over to our website, which is agmarket.net, and you can get a hold of us that way.
All right, Corey Bratland's been our guest from agmarket.net. Corey, thanks so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks, Dustin.
And that's been a check of our closing market analysis from agmarket.net. Let's take a look at the closing numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. At the close, March corn up 2 1/4 at $4.24 even. Soybeans down 1/2 at $10.64 even. Soybean meal up $4.80 at $2.9620. Soy oil down 23 cents at $53.78. Chicago wheat up 7 3/4 at $5.15 1/2. Kansas winter wheat up 6 at $5.25 3/4. Kansas spring wheat up 12 1/2 at $5.61 1/4. Minneapolis spring wheat up a dime. That's at $5.73 3/4. Oats down 2 1/4 at $2.91 1/4. On the Merc live cattle down 72 cents at $232.37. Feeder cattle down a dime at $359.27. Lean hogs up 62 cents at $88.47. Pork cutouts up 72 cents at $97.42. And Class 3 milk down 33 cents at $14.98. That brings us to the end of the closing markets, and that brings us also to the end of today's program. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.